Hello. Thanks for your time to listen to our presentation today. It's about assessing group work. Among others, group work is about teamwork. Now, when we talk about teamwork, it's not only for the basketball court. In fact, most of us engage in teamwork every day of the week, from working as team to create digital strategies, to recalibrating our syllabus to fit online learning, to partnering with your spouse or partner or children to observe the COVID-19 protocols in your house. Teamwork is important. Jesus had a team of disciples who went everywhere with him. In Mark 6, 7 to 13, we see that Jesus had 12 disciples in his core team. They worked and traveled in teams. In our own traditional classrooms, we also ask students to work in teams. Our own learning management system in Silliman allows us to group our students online. Oh, thank God. But how do we assess teamwork or group work? That would be, as I said, our subject matter today. But first, lest we forget our vision, permit me to present it to you. We picture and imagine ourselves to be a leading Christian institution committed to total human development for the well-being of society and environment. Given this vision, part of our mission is to infuse into the academic learning the Christian faith anchored on the gospel of Jesus Christ. Furthermore, provide opportunities for growth and excellence in every dimension of the university life in order to strengthen character, competence, and faith. In our own little way, we can work together to fulfill our university mission. How? Maybe by sparing us a little of your time to find out if our presentation today could be of help to you if ever you divide your students into groups for collaborative learning online. So at the end of this presentation, you will know the definition of group work, what research say about group work, when to use it, and your role as teacher. And I will also be presenting to you 5 options to assess group work. And for each option, I will also cite some advantages and disadvantages. Now, what is group work? Group work is obviously working in small groups or collaborative working as it is often referred, is basically a group of between 2 and 6 students formed to discuss a particular issue or perform a particular task. Well, we don't really have to limit the number of students per group, but I believe that the smaller, the better. So when you talk about group work, it includes the terms cooperative learning, collective learning, peer learning, reciprocal learning, or we say team learning. Now, how does group work look like? We see students working together, learning together, working with others, and they also learn from each other. There are 3 types of group work, and you can see it here. First, informal groups. Second, formal groups. And third, study groups. Informal groups are composed of ad hoc clusters of students who work in class to discuss an issue or test understanding. Formal groups are established to complete a specific task in a single or several class sessions over many weeks. Examples of these are project work, library or research tasks, progress reports, laboratory experiments, presentations, debates, field studies, or musical performances. Now, the work of a formal group may or may not be assessed. Then we have study groups or teams specifically formed to provide support for members, usually for the duration of a course. Now, what we're talking about in this presentation is formal group or group work. So group work is categorized under formal groups, established to complete a specific task in a single or several class sessions. What does research say about group work? According to Race in 2007, human species has evolved on the basis of group learning. Learning from others is the most instinctive and natural of all learning contexts that we experience. Research further shows that well-constructed group work with a clear rationale and conviction of the value of the process leads to a greater retention and understanding of what is taught. So students retain a lot when they learn in a group setting. And they understand, I think, more the concepts that we teach them when they are in a group environment. Furthermore, research say that group work safeguards against students being isolated, particularly in their first year, and hence serves as a valuable retention strategy. Group work also develops students' transferable skills of collaboration, team working, negotiation, listening, organization, leadership, and evaluation, which students can take into their working lives. So this is a very good way of teaching our students some of the 21st skills that we have been talking about. Collaboration, teamwork, negotiation, and that's the reason why we promote group work with several guidelines for you to follow. Now, when do we use group work? Maybe a number of us would opt for group work if we want to do something else, because I know that we are loaded with lots of assignments and we have lots of deadlines to beat. And so we use group work as one of the activities in class. But according to the literature, we use group work when some goals of the course are best achieved through students working together in groups. We also use group work where the aim is to teach students collaborative, cooperative, and team working skills. And furthermore, we use group when the task can only be carried out by a group. For example, where students work as a management team or are required to assign specific roles to group members. So we don't just use group work for the sake of using it as part of the curriculum. We can also use group work when the task is too large or complex for one person to accomplish. We use group work when students are required to think creatively and originally, to listen to others' ideas sympathetically and critically, and to build on others' work. Resource limitations also justify group work. That is when there's not enough equipment for each student to utilize, or we don't have much time to finish a certain topic or course, or the project duration is too long for one student to complete. So we resort to group work. And additionally, In our new learning management platform, it's hard for students to passively stare at a computer screen for up to 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or more than an hour. So we give shorter lectures and break up class time with interactive learning activities and group work. But even if that is the case, we cannot just leave students with instructions what to do, when to do it, and when to submit it. As teachers, we have a very important role to play. What are we supposed to do when students are doing their group work? We need to keep group members active, motivated, or engaged. So here is an enumeration. I think it's not really enough of the role of teachers in a group work. So as a teacher, you need to be a group creator. You need to monitor, to mediate, to organize, to coach, and to mentor. You are even considered advisor in resolving internal group problems. So you will know whether you're doing it well or you're effectively managing a group work when you provide clear objectives. It should really be made clear what your expectations are. What should be the outcome of group work? You should prepare well. You should promote engagement and allow adequate time for group discussion. Maybe one session would not be enough, so we give them probably 3 sessions to finish the task that we are asking them to do. And we need to ensure that members cooperate. Now, how do you assess group work? I know that you have been doing this. We have been doing this over the years, so it would be great if you're going to share with us your best practices in terms of assessing group work. Can you share? Maybe you can use the chat box. I'll give you a minute or two to share your best practices in assessing your group work before you move on. Okay, just sharing time. How do you score a group work? How do you assess them as a group? Surely you have some best practices that you could share to the participants. Okay, keep your answers coming. And I think I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. Okay, time. Thank you. So we'll move on and check what are some of the best practices of universities. According to this slide, there are 5 ways that group assessment may be conducted. Shared group grade, group average grade, individual grade for the allocated task, individual grade for the allocated report, and individual grade based on the examination that you give them individually. So here are 5 options from the literature. And for this presentation, I'm going to give you some advantages and disadvantages for each option. Shared group grade. It says here, the group submits one product and all group members receive the same grade regardless of individual contribution. So take note, each one receives the same grade. Now, the literature says this type of scoring encourages group work. No one in the group would like their boat to sink, so they need to work together to keep their boats afloat. So individual products are expected here. They need to contribute something to complete the group work. After all, they're going to receive the same grade. Now, this seems easy to do, but my experience says that this option for scoring is not really fair. The literature agrees when it said that individual contributions are not necessarily reflected in the marks, and stronger students may be unfairly disadvantaged by the weaker ones, and vice versa. So, yeah, if you want to use shared group grade as an option, you read here the disadvantages as well as the disadvantages. How about option 2? Group work may be marked by using the method of group average grade. Now, how does this work? Individual submissions based on allocated tasks or individual reports are scored individually. The group members each receive the average of these individual scores. Now, some students or teachers find this fair because with this method, uh, it may provide motivation for students to focus on both the individual and group work and thereby develop in both areas. So focus on both the individual and group work. So this is somehow advantageous. But there are advantages according to the literature because with group average grade, some students may perceive this as unfair. Why? Because stronger students may be unfairly disadvantaged by weaker ones and vice versa. How about option 3? We call this type of scoring individual grade based on allocated task. Now, in this option, each student completes an allocated task that contributes to the final group product and gets the mark for that particular task. So here, of course, there's only one final group product. But because each student has a unique task, the student is graded according to the quality or criteria of the task allocated or assigned to him or her. Now, the literature says this type of scoring group is relatively an objective way of ensuring individual participation. It may provide additional motivation to students and potential to reward outstanding performance. That really sounds good. But perfect as it seems, there are loopholes. Why? Because it's difficult to find tasks that are exactly equal in size or complexity. So the tasks of the other may be easier compared to the other student. Or this does not really encourage the group process or collaboration. And furthermore, dependencies between tasks may slow progress of some. So there are advantages and disadvantages as well. So we're down to option 4. It says here we can score group work by doing individual grade based on individual report. How does this work? Each student writes or submits an individual report based on the group's work on the task or project. Oh, based on the group's work. That would be their report, individual report that is. So the group here still comes up with a group product, but individual group members submit individual reports about the project or what they did to contribute to the group product. This scoring method, accordingly, ensures individual effort and is perceived by many as fair. However, some students don't really write good reports, and I think we know that. Writing is a skill somehow. So there's a tendency for them to copy or unintentionally plagiarize the report of other group members. That's not really good. So here I have shown you the advantages and disadvantages for option 4. Finally, option 5 for grading or scoring group 5. We call this individual grade based on examination. And my slide here says, exam questions may be given to each student that specifically target the group projects and can only be answered by students who have been thoroughly involved in the project. So if you think that the 4 options are not good enough to measure student learning within the framework of group work, then option 5 may be good for you. Hence, you may give exam questions to students that specifically target the group projects that can only be answered by students who have been thoroughly involved in the group project. And accordingly, this may increase motivation to learn from the group project, including learning from the other members of the group. However, some say this scoring option is disadvantageous because it may diminish the importance of group work, or this adds work for the staff in designing exam questions, or this may not be effective as students may be able to answer the questions by reading the group reports. So that's up to you. So there we are, the 5 options for assessing group work. You can use the shared group grade or the group average grade, individual grade based on allocated task, or individual grade based on allocated report, as well as individual grade based on an examination or a test. Before I end this session, let me share to you some best practices practiced by other universities. It says here, assessment tasks based on group work must not contribute more than 50% towards a student's final grade. Remember, not more than 50% towards a student's final grade. Another best practice, if group work is to be used either as preparation for an individual assignment or in preparing a full assignment with a shared grade, then that must be stated in the course outline, along with an indication of the time commitment that will be required outside scheduled classes. And we must remember that the outline must include a clear statement of how the assessment will be calculated. So it is important that the student knows how the group project will be assessed. Also, another best practice, group work assignments must be carefully planned, supervised, and monitored by the course coordinator or the teacher himself or herself. And in case the group work will not work, there must be a fallback assessment plan to protect any students whose group is unable to complete its work. I would like to conclude this presentation by saying collaborative skills or cooperative skills or teamwork skills are a desired asset, not only by Jesus, our great teacher, but also by the employers, We can promote teamwork skills in our online classrooms by assessing group work in a way that students wouldn't feel disadvantaged. The teacher-designed rubric would be a useful tool, which will be the topic of my co-speaker today. And in this case, you can choose one from the 5 options I presented or blend it with other assessment types. Our goal is to promote interdependence and engagement with teachers, peers, and the larger community in alignment with the mission of Silliman University. Thank you for the time and have a nice day.